Hi there, welcome to The Club on SkyPoker. I'm Dan Lobb and he's Matt Broughton. Today we've gone all intellectual, haven't we, sweetheart?
Yeah.
We're talking books to improve your game. Also, we'll tell you how you can get your hands on 10 of the best casino/poker-related movies. And David Bland is back with updates on the latest in the London poker scene. But Dave Bland is anything but bland.
Absolutely, he's awesome. There is plenty to get through, but before we crack on, The Club is your show. So please do get in touch with us. You can do that on our phone number. It's 0208 8908 846. You can email us, theclub@bskyb.com, or you can text 84846, start your message with the word club.
OK, so you probably saw him at the very top of this show. Let's meet the man who's read more poker books than we've had hot dinners, apparently. Mr. Sam Ladlow from Cardoza Publishers. Hello, Sam.
Hello, nice to meet you.
Just poker books?
Well, I mean, we're the world's foremost publisher of gaming and gambling books. We do poker, chess, bridge, backgammon, but our core expertise and the predominant sales of our books are in poker books.
And have you really read them all? Go on, be honest.
No, I haven't read them all. Obviously, I can cherry pick the authors that I particularly like. I see on telly playing, big games, and I tend to read those books.
Big businesses, isn't it?
Is it something that you always were interested in, or is your association with the publishers made poker a bigger deal for you?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I've always been interested in sports, and obviously I count poker as a sport. And when I came into this job, my interest in poker obviously grew, and since then it's blossomed, and I like watching poker on television, reading the books, and just generally being involved in poker.
Have you picked out these 3 books on the table specifically for us to have a chat about? Are these your favourite books? Are they random picks?
Well, basically, they're 3 of our newest books.
OK.
Poker Tournament Formula and Poker Wizards and More Hold'em Wisdom. They're very new books. They've only been out maybe a month or so now.
I'm not as big an expert as Matt is in poker, but I recognise the geezer in the middle and his name, Daniel Negreanu. Tell us a bit about this particular book.
Well, basically, Daniel's written 3 books for us now. This is his 3rd book. He came out with his first book, which was Hold'em Wisdom. This is the follow-up to that. In that first book, everybody knows Daniel Negreanu, and he just wanted to give an insight into how the top poker players play. And in his first book, he gave 50 concepts and strategies on how to play in the highest level of poker. In this new book, he's built upon what he gave out before and given you another 50 strategies on how to learn to think and play like a pro. His small ball strategy, how to play against different types of players, big cash games, tournaments, things like that. So,
what sort of level player is it aimed at?
Well, I mean, we've tried to make it quite accessible, so we don't want it to be too advanced. I mean, it's sort of a beginner could probably read it and take on those concepts. Maybe not all of them, but the majority of them. So maybe intermediate, beginner, intermediate, and to some level the lower level, the advanced. I mean, it's quite a small book, so it's hard to make some of the strategies fit in. So if you really wanted to read something a bit more in depth, maybe it's a different title.
Are they Negreanu strategies?
Yes. So I mean,
all of them. So this is what he implements and how he plays himself.
Yeah. I mean, he prides himself on the way he plays poker, and he loves the game. And he says, he says in the start of the book, if you love the game, you owe it to yourself to read the book and take on some of these concepts so you can make money.
Are those sorry, Matt? Are those the bigger sellers, the ones that are written or endorsed by the big names?
To an extent, the name does sell the book.
Right.
I mean, Daniel Negreanu is such a big name, and so many people see him on television that they want to find out how he plays and be like Daniel Negreanu. He's an aspirational figure, and he's the kind of guy and he's a likeable guy. He's got a funny beard, and
That doesn't actually, Sam. That doesn't make somebody likeable, does it, Matt?
I don't know. I think it goes a long way to making someone far more credible.
But if his book was called Probably Plop Plop Plop, for instance, would people still buy it?
Well,
or is it that big a name?
Well, no, probably not. But obviously,
it's a good question, Dan.
That was a bizarre.
I mean, it's got to say what the book's about, of course. I mean, it's got to say Hold'em or Omaha or tournament or whatever. So you've got to know what it's about. But yeah, Daniel Negreanu helps.
Moving on to a thicker-looking but slightly more scary one, the poker tournament Formula 2. That sounds a little bit like hard work to me. What's that particular angle?
Well, obviously it's tournament focused. Arnold Schneider did a tournament book for us maybe 2 years ago called Poker Tournament Formula 1, as you might have guessed.
How did he come up with the name at the time? Was it 1? Did he know there'd be a 2, or was it?
Oh no, it didn't have the 1. Sorry.
Ah, see,
he caught me there.
See, yeah, I caught you out there.
No, I mean, in the first book, it was focused on tournaments, obviously, but it was more focused on lower level tournaments where you get less chips and there's less movement in terms of how many different poker skills you can implement. You don't have as much time to bring out your whole repertoire. Whereas in this book, he's focused more on larger level tournaments where you get more chips, there's bigger buy-ins, and you can. And he talks about this thing called chip utility, and seeing your chips as not as money, but as utilities in terms of helping you, for example, find out things about other players by calling particular hands or using them to bluff or things like that, and gain information about the other players at the table.
So though it's called Formula, it's not one of the kind of maths-based books. It is kind of English, I guess, is the question.
Well, it is, but it does bring into play a little bit of maths. I mean, in the book, he talks about other people's strategies and criticises other people's strategies. I mean, he's saying in the book that there's a lot of players out there who are playing incorrectly, and because they're playing incorrectly, you can beat them. And some of that comes down to some of the maths involved.
I mean, you said when we spoke before that you play a bit of poker yourself. Do you find that the books kind of, to a degree, suck the fun out of playing games? You know, a lot of people come to cards and play it because it's a fun game, and then books say, no, don't do it that way, do it this way, and it becomes a bit like the pressure of doing it right.
Well, I mean, obviously there is right and wrong in poker, but I mean, if you enjoy the game, you obviously want to be better at it, and it depends. If you want to be serious about the game, and in the end, you're making money, and if you want to make money, then you do. It's worthwhile investing in finding out how the top players play. Otherwise, I mean, why am I not a top poker pro? Because I'm not as good as those top players, but I'd like to learn to be like them. So if I read these books, maybe I will get better.
And what the third book you got there, Poker Wizards? What's the approach of that book?
Well, it's actually it's a book by a gentleman called Warwick Dunnett, but it's featuring some of the biggest names in poker. You know, Dan Harrington, Daniel Negreanu, Chris Ferguson, Lusk. All the top names. And the difference between that book and a lot of our other books is the fact that instead of being, I don't know, for like Super System, it's an amazing book, but in that book, the chapters are broken down into the different contributors, and they talk about a different aspect. Well, what he's done in this book is he's asked each of the contributors to talk about a certain element. So, first of all, they give some advice on how to become a poker wizard, but also they talk about specific hands, bluffing, aggression, and they all talk about the same topic. So it's like a comparison book. So condensed into one book, you've got say 8 different authors' viewpoint on how to be aggressive in a game and the best way to do that, and the best way to make the most money and place in tournaments.
And all of these, I assume, are now available via Cardozo Publishing, just went into my commercial mode there. How would an ordinary human on the street find out and purchase one of these smashing things?
Well, if you pop into, a good bookseller, I don't know.
That's a good place to start, isn't it, I'd have thought.
Do you have an online facility, I'm wondering? Is there a website people can go to that you'd like to plug that lets them see all the books?
Well, I mean, our main source of selling in the UK is probably Amazon.co.uk.
Oh, right, OK.
There you go.
So if you go down there, they've got our full back catalogue. Not only our poker books, but our blackjack and our gambling and our casino books, our chess books as well. So, any book by Cardozo, you can purchase at Amazon.co.uk.
What was your personal favourite of all the poker books that you guys produce? Is there one that you've kind of think's really had an impact for you? I
mean, I really like the Poker Wizards book at the moment, actually, because it gives you that comparison across. And some of the names that are on there haven't even written, I don't know if they've written at all, but they haven't written for us. So it's new strategies by guys I haven't read material from. So to me, that's what's caught my eye.
Have you ever been turned down by Cardozo?
No.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Steer well clear, Sam, if you do find anything from Broughton coming into the office. Thanks very much for coming in. Very interesting, and perhaps when you get your new batch of books, you'll come back and join us on the club.
Of course, yeah.
Thanks a lot, Sam. Don't look at me. What are you laughing at that for?
No, it's just, the next batch of books. It's just you're very Very visual, aren't you, as a presenter?
Quick break now. That's a break as we get up close and personal with the Unabomber of the Poker Millions.